The topic of my course paper is the critical interactions of a blended learning model. So, what is a blended learning model? It is a style of education in which students learn via electronic and online media as well as traditional face to face teaching. This education uses the strengths of synchronous and asynchronous learning activities not only to supplement but also to develop and improve the learning process. So, synchronous learning means that students and teachers meet at the same time online via a virtual learning platform, whereas asynchronous learning means that online students do not meet at a specific time with the teacher. And the focus in the definition is not only on choosing the right or the best or the innovative as opposed to traditional media for presenting learning content. It is rather on creating a learning environment that works as a whole. By taking the learners and teachers' disposition, their attitudes into account, and considering the relationship of the protagonist in the learning process. Then we have types of blended learning model. Becoming a theme number one to investigate in a learning environment, blended learning has a great variety of different types for promoting. Each type diverges somewhat in terms of teacher responsibilities, administrative requirements, and instructional emphasis. Nevertheless, all of these types could allow for some flexibility in how they are implemented. Here are some of the main types of blended learning model. The first one is rotation model. It integrates online learning and face-to-face learning in the classroom with a substitute instructors supervision with an orderly schedule. And this model includes four submodels, namely the flipped classroom model, the usage of rotation models wherein English learning takes turn according to the schedule stipulated between face-to-face practice and online teaching and learning. Then we have the individual rotation model. Learning opportunities include independent study, small groups, collaboration during English lessons, which could be conducted by their teacher for the whole group, or individualized interventions. Then we have station rotation model. The learning environment puts forward the opportunity for students to interchange stations in class, and at least one of these stations includes an online learning component. And we have lab rotation model. The main advantage of this model is that using the lab frees up classroom space for the other activities within the rotation model. The second one is the enriched virtual model, and this requires that English learning should be conducted primarily online through face-to-face sessions with the teacher are also demanded. Flex model, as far as this approach is concerned, the material is delivered online. And the final one is the a la carte model. During English teaching and learning, students have the ability to choose from a menu of options for supplementary topics. These individual English classes are often conducted exclusively online with a remote teacher of record. There are many advantages of taking a blended learning model in online English classes that combines synchronous with asynchronous learning. To start with, one of the most cited benefits of blended learning in English learning content is related to students' motivation and engagement. Another reason why institutions choose blended learning is the possibility for differentiation according to students' learning preferences. They can choose the time, pace of learning, the place where to do the assignments, select the most useful task, which improves learners' academic results. The blended learning approach helps to create what Garrison and Kanuka call a community of inquiry. This community of inquiry gives students the structure they need to process the enormous amount of content they can find online. And a blended learning model can provide better interaction between students and students with lectures. Despite undeniable advantages, blended course developers, teachers, and students may face numerous challenges, which can influence the effectiveness of the blended learning course. English teachers, the first one is English teachers might deal with issues when working with students on curriculum activities. Then they might be challenges with student self management. Establishing work expectations is another challenge that might face teachers when implementing blended learning. Next one, the process of planning and implementing this model into learning. Another challenge that arises when implementing the blended learning method is outside of classroom challenges. And the final one, teachers might face technology challenges. Some programs are credit retrieval, others are expanded correspondences courses, and still others ask the students to do some thematic activities. Therefore, there are five critical relationships in a successful online learning program, and I want to discuss them with you. The first one is student-to-student interaction. It is vital to building a community in an online environment which supports productive and satisfying learning and helps students to develop problem solving and critical thinking skills. Next one is student to teacher interaction. In this interaction, the teacher is responsible for the instructor to organize the blended learning environment so that the students understand the project and theme, the need for a plan, the resources they will need, the timelines, how to use the various technologies, and how they will be evaluated. And then we have the student to community interaction. As a component of this community experience in English blended learning model, students should accumulate an ability to coordinate their online experiences and lessons to the level of being in touch with experts or peers outside the online classroom. Then we have the student to material interaction. One of the best methods of English teaching using online learning is for students to do inquiry or project-based learning that empowers them to come up with their options, idea, and conclusions. And the final one, it is student to technology interaction. In order to do the reaching level of technological work, it is very significant to have the tutorials available for students to use for just-in-time learning. There are actually two types of tools and activities to set up an effective and productive blended learning course. The first one is online storage, uh, which take place on the cloud, a virtual space that it is not tied to any other one computer. Here are the most beneficial tools: Google Drive, Dropbox, Box, and Bookrator. And activities using online storage tools are discussion boards, explain everything, and online peer review. The another tools for blended learning course is engagement tools, which are great alternative to paper-based quizzes to evaluate student understanding of learned material. So here we have Nearport, Poll Everywhere, Kahoot, and CoSpaces. And therefore, there are a number of activities with the use of engagement tools, multiple choice test, class question bank, VAQ cards, and interactive posters. And the final thing is how to design the perfect program of blended learning model. Here are the main steps in order to create the most challenging and the most productive blended learning model. The first step is to defining the outcomes of the course. Next, you have to create an outline for the blended learning course, determining the level of interactivity. Next step is to integrate group collaboration activities, facilitating communication, uh, compiling a list of resources to support learning, and last but not the least, creating an assessment plan. Ultimately, there are many factors that go into creating a blended learning environment, and each one will look different based on what the students at a particular English course required. Spending time on the design and development cycle enables the educator to focus on developing a blended learning experience that is responsive to the English learners and their needs. Therefore, blended learning makes the curriculum more student-centric, and by allowing the student to derive the best of both online and offline learning, makes the time spent in classrooms more fruitful for learners. And thank you so much for your attention.